Hi, this is Dan Devlin for the Detective Dan Devlin Show. Honorable people, honorable nation. You've heard me say it before. We can't have an honorable nation if we don't have honorable people. And today, I know that in the past, we've covered the subject of elections to some degree. But today, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And hopefully, when we conclude this segment, you'll think a little differently about what we're going to do about elections here in the United States and in the state of New York in particular. We're about ready to go into the voting booths and cast our ballot for many different officials, including the governor of New York and, of course, people on the federal level or the national level. Many of us have given a reasonable amount of time to trying to understand what the candidates are about. Some of us have given little or no thought about it and may actually go in and vote anyway. My advice is, if you haven't really looked at candidates and know what you want to do, I know people encourage everybody to go vote, but you could be doing yourself more harm than good if you're an uninformed voter. So all these decisions are up to you. People are going to pressure you. They're going to say, go ahead and go to vote. But my take on that is you should be informed and cast a ballot that you're confident will achieve what you're trying to achieve. I want to touch for a couple minutes on just the overall aspect of voting today. In today's society, we're seeing major political parties that are more separated now, I think, than they have been in the past. That can be a good thing. On the Democrat side, in my opinion, they've moved to a more extreme position in doing the things that actually hurt the people who they claim are their constituents. Think about it for a minute. We have issues like immigration. We have issues, and some people have forgotten about the importance of the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, but it is very important. You know, just on those topics alone. Add to that the issue of the sanctity of life, the idea that we are destroying the lives of innocent human beings in the womb. Many people are in the corner that it should never be permitted, and others, especially on the Democrat side, they seem to think that it's perfectly fine. You know that we've done broadcasts. I hope you have been watching long enough that you know our position, that the Constitution names our unborn descendants to receive the exact same blessings, benefits, and protections of the Constitution and the nation as the group of people call ourselves. That's because the Constitution says that its purpose is to secure the blessings of liberty to those two groups, ourselves and our posterity. Obviously, that's an important issue to me in particular. But when we look at Democrats, and recently Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have made statements about the Constitution. They said that in order to boost their own image, they've indicated that they have all taken an oath to defend the Constitution and the people of the United States. But they left out our posterity, those unborn descendants in the womb who are our posterity and who are named right alongside ourselves. That's because they don't want to, and on many issues, they don't want to address the real life truth and facts of matters. They, and most of the Democrats, want to create a different world that can leave out many of the facts and just present information that they want to present to their constituents. On the other hand, the Republicans, and of course this is my view, you may very well have a different view, but I hope that maybe I'm going to give you some information that will cause you to rethink, especially if you're going to go to the polls and vote for a Democrat. And that information is that many people have strong opinions about the Trump administration, and justifiably so, with the way some of the behavior has occurred in the past. But I have to give them credit for at least following through on many of the things that they said that they were about and that they would accomplish or seek to accomplish if they were given the opportunity in office. It's amazing that when we look at jobs in the United States today, it appears, if we can believe the statistics, that almost every group, the demographics of which are varied across the scale from minority groups to the rich, many of those groups are doing better financially because of the decisions and the policies and procedures put in place by the Trump administration. I hate to say this, but probably the core issue for everyone is whether they're better off financially. I certainly want to be better off financially myself. However, if we look at other issues, to me, there are more important issues than the dollars. But it's always nice to have those additional dollars as well. And that is what the Trump administration and the Republicans that he's pulled over to his side have accomplished so far. They deal with the immigration issue. And I stand with them in the position that we need to enforce our laws, and we do not have unlimited resources that we can take in everyone who wants to come to the United States. It would be nice if we could do that, but even in doing that, we would be changing, the culture and beliefs of what is the national norm here in the United States. It's varied enough already. Add to that people coming from other countries, whether it's from the Middle East or whether it's from south of the United States. We're changing what the United States really is meant to be all about. And what is it meant to be? Many people lose sight of the fact that in that phrase in the Constitution that says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to those two groups. Ourselves and our posterity do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." We've talked extensively about why we cannot allow abortions because those individuals are named in the Constitution to be treated exactly the same as ourselves. And we're pursuing that, and many people believe that we will eventually win that argument and we will be able to protect those individuals who are named in the Constitution. But it goes beyond that in that we need to understand that those who formed and founded this country and many who followed them understood that all the things that they were doing were for not only themselves, but all their descendants until the end of time, their future generations, which is what our posterity is. And how does that affect us in other ways other than just the abortion issue? When we look at immigration, we need to understand our responsibility to those who follow us, who are our descendants. And not only our descendants, but the descendants of everyone who came before us who were people of the United States. Currently, we're allowing the destruction of many individuals whose ancestors, their grandfathers, their fathers or mothers, their great-grandparents were contributors to what this nation became or is now. And we have a responsibility to those individuals, many of whom allowed us as people who came to the United States relatively recently, in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And because they did, we're allowed to be one of the people of the United States. But we have an obligation to those who were here before us and their posterity, their descendants, all their descendants until the end of time, because those are the individuals who are named in the Constitution to be treated as ourselves. And so when it comes to the idea of unlimited immigration, people coming to the country illegally, forcing our nation to spend millions and millions and billions of dollars, taking away the school systems that were geared and are supposed to be for the descendants of those who are people of the United States. We're not serving those individuals who came before us, who are people of the United States, well, nor are we serving their posterity well when we allow people to come in and drain the resources of who? The people of the United States. Many people don't realize it, but it's actually the government provides no funds whatsoever. It is unable to provide funds to anyone. And why is that so? Because the government of itself does not produce dollars. It gets its dollars from the people who government officials are supposed to serve. And I go into this because it's about responsibility. And voting is about responsibility. It's a very important responsibility. By us making a decision to vote for one person or one party, a group of people from that party, or the other, will change what the future of the United States is. If we look at the system the way it currently is, I look at it and I say, what sane people would think that this system is a good system for people of the United States? You stop and you think about it, you cast a ballot, and in most cases, if you purchase something at the store, you would get a receipt. And it would say on that receipt what you purchased or what you returned, and it would calculate the dollars. And you would be able to put that in your pocket, put it in your drawer, in your desk. You would be able to keep that. And if later on somebody wanted a check, you wanted a check to see, wait a minute, did I make this purchase? Or I want to return this item. You would need that receipt. You would go back, give it to them, and they would be able to say, oh yes, I see that you did this. But here when we vote, what do? Most of us go in and we get a paper form that we fill out. Those little circles there, we just color in there. Most of us wouldn't vote for a candidate that is not listed on the ballot, and the control by the boards of election and the political system really keeps many people off that ballot because it makes it so difficult for independent individuals to get on it. So we go ahead and we fill those forms out, and then what do? We go over to a machine and we feed this ballot into a machine, and they say, thank you very much. And we assume, and I trust most of you know what assume means, and without going into it, wise people would never trust that machine to give a tally, a correct tally of the number of votes that it reads from this paper ballot that you have. What happens to those paper ballots? Are you identified in a way that you could make sure that your vote counted? Can you go to a board of election and say, I want to see my ballot? I don't know if that's true or not. I've been told that those ballots are destroyed. I don't know at what time. But in order to get a true auditing, we're kind of left out in the dark because we can't even prove what or who we voted for. So I'm going to make a suggestion. One of the suggestions I'm going to make is that in the future, we need to get a receipt. And on that receipt, it would show who we voted for. And if we really want to check to see whether our vote counted, we would have that receipt to be able to show, wait a minute, why is what you're saying I voted for different than what I actually voted for? That's one area. The other area is, and I know that this is kind of controversial because most people think that a secret ballot is a good thing. In the days when it was very difficult to hold people accountable because of long distances between cities and towns, I can understand why there may be a secret ballot. You know, if people are pressuring people to vote in one way or another, or taking it out on them if they do vote one way or another, it might be tough for really independent, honest people to come in and make sure that that doesn't happen. In today's age, I don't think that that's the case. I think that we have enough law enforcement people. If we needed to, we could have a special agency. There we go, another agency. But that'll be made up because there'll be other areas that we didn't need people because we are going to simplify the election process. But I believe that we need a process that is an open, I'll refer to it as an open ballot, that other people can find out who we voted for and that we can show who we voted for. And so I think we should do away with secret ballots. And some people say, and I understand it, well, somebody might take something out on me because I voted one way or another. They might. But if we aren't effective enough to have people to address that and then prosecute those who are doing those kinds of things, then we certainly need to be doing a better job at ensuring that we can establish justice, which is one of the blessings of liberty that we're supposed to have because this nation is formed the way it is. But if we do have a ballot where other people can see it, we would be able to, probably beyond a doubt, ensure that we had an honest ballot. It would be very difficult to add people who do not exist. For example, people who have passed away, who no longer have a right to vote, of course. So voter fraud would be drastically reduced. And I'll remind people that having been in war myself, when you see men in particular, and some women, sacrifice their lives or their limbs or their sanity or their sight to make this country safe and to protect us from other forms of government, communism for one. When we have that happen, and we're afraid that someone might say something bad to us, maybe they'll use the IRS or another agency in order to audit us. Maybe they'll send out a building inspector in order to look at our property. And that can cause us problems and perhaps money. If we have people in place who can identify, wait a minute, this is being done solely because this individual voted in a certain way, and if they can establish that, which often would be the case, our investigations are pretty good nowadays. But even if it happened and we did have to suffer in some way, we would have to weigh, isn't that better than having a fantasy type of voting system where everyone blindly has the faith that everyone's going to do everything all right? We know from past examples that there have been problems with voting, even with equipment reading what is actually on the paper ballot that you enter into some of these machines. And we want to make sure that there's an accurate vote. So just think about it a little bit and consider the fact that if we want a more honorable nation, of course, we have to be more honorable. And to be honorable does not mean concealing facts. And that's what we try to do when we have a secret ballot. We're shivering in our boots because someone may do something to us. And yet, we can have men and some women who not only risk their lives, but give their lives so that their descendants, who are their posterity, by the way, can live in a free society, and that you, as someone who did not go and fight or risk their life, or if you had, you returned successfully back here, as I have, they would expect us to take care of this nation that they fought and risked and maybe gave their lives to see continue for the benefit of their family and their descendants. So these are decisions that we have to make as a society. And because the Constitution starts out with the phrase, "we the people," it really identifies the people who are ultimately responsible for whatever we become. And that election process is vital to achieving that honest, fair society that promotes freedom, not limits it. Yes, I've talked about the Democrats and a little bit about the Republicans. When people want to limit your freedoms, you should be very, very concerned. When they want to destroy individuals for any reason, without due process of the law, which is what happens in the case of an abortion, we should be very concerned about that. Why would they do that and yet still care about us? Many people who follow and even vote for Democrats believe that somehow they're going to benefit those individuals. And maybe that's true, because if you don't choose to work, and if you only want benefits from the government, you could easily see them as giving you more benefits. But I can guarantee you that that is limited, because the working people and even the rich people have a limit. And at some point, they're going to end the amount of money that they give to their government when it's spent irresponsibly, or it encourages people to do things like not work. So currently, some of the minority groups from the United States, whether it's African American communities or some people would call them the black community, I don't normally, or the Mexican American community, or the immigrant community, stop and think. If the economy falls back, which appears as though it would be the case under the Democrats, because they object to many of the things that are going on now that is promoting a more successful nation. But if businesses start losing money, being taxed more, if the economy is not good, that means the benefits that you receive certainly will go down as well. So I'm asking people to wrestle with this, and I'm coming at it because despite what some people might believe, they might think I'm a Republican. I'm not a Republican. I believe in voting for those who will do the best for the American people because I owe that to the people who I fought alongside when I was in a war situation and in the military. And so I want to make sure that their posterity, their children, their descendants, till the end of time, have the freedom that we need in this nation. Take this information, do what you want. But if you feel as though you have enough information, make sure that you vote in this upcoming election. And here in New York State, I have great reasons to believe that we need a change in the governor's office because of the things that the governor has done in the past hurt many people across the state of New York. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to have to leave it there. Perhaps we'll go into that further, but in the meantime, I hope that you understand none of this matters if we don't hold those officials that we put in place accountable. That's the objective of individuals that I associate with now. It's my objective. And I hope that you will stay tuned with us. You can find us at honorablepeoplehonorablenation.org. And I hope that we do the responsible thing so we can have an honorable nation because we absolutely should be honorable people. God bless you all. I hope you all have a great day. And understand I give these programs because I care about what we become in the future, because that is our responsibility as people of the United States. God bless you all.